The kitchen.
There's something deeply poetic about taking a single, unbroken branch from a tree and transforming it into a complete work of art. Not multiple pieces glued together, not a mix of materials or external enhancements. Just one solid, organic branch, carved, shaped, and revealed until it becomes something greater than itself. Wooden sculptures carved from a single branch are more than just decorative items. They're testaments to patience, precision, and the artist's deep respect for nature. Imagine walking through a forest, your eyes scanning the trees, and suddenly you notice a fallen branch, twisted, curved, perhaps weathered by time and elements. To the untrained eye, it's just another piece of wood. But to the skilled sculptor, it's a hidden world of potential. The way the branch bends, the knots in the grain, the natural flow of its form, all of it is a story waiting to be told. What makes this form of sculpture so special is the commitment to use what nature has already provided. There's no reshaping of the branch's length or width, no altering of its essence. The artist must work with the exact structure, following the flow and limitations of the branch itself. This limitation becomes a source of creativity. The curves and angles of the branch dictate the direction of the carving. Instead of forcing the wood to obey, the artist collaborates with it. This collaboration leads to sculptures that feel alive, not just in appearance, but in essence. You can often still trace the original branch within the finished piece. Its twists and textures are not erased, they're enhanced. Some artists carve figures directly into the curves of the wood. A gentle bend becomes a resting shoulder. A gnarled section becomes the base of a tree spirit's head. Others carve intricate patterns or abstract forms, letting the wood guide the design. The result is a piece that feels both deliberate and spontaneous, as if it was always meant to be that way. Because these sculptures use a single branch, their size is naturally limited. But what they lack in scale, they make up for in intricacy and emotion. Small carvings invite close inspection. They draw people in. You notice the tiny details, the fine lines etched into the wood, the gentle smoothing of the surface where once bark lived, the way light dances on the polished curves. Every inch tells a story. One of the most beautiful aspects of this art is the connection to the source material. Each branch has a history. It may have grown on the side of a mountain, been shaped by wind and rain, or survived a lightning strike. Artists often speak of feeling the life of the tree as they carve. They're not just cutting into wood. They're discovering the character within. And since no two branches are ever the same, no two sculptures can ever be the same either. Each one is a true original. This uniqueness makes these sculptures deeply personal. They're not mass-produced. They can't be replicated. They exist as one-of-a-kind expressions of both nature's randomness and the artist's vision. For collectors, this adds immense value, not just financial but emotional. Owning a sculpture carved from a single branch is like holding a frozen moment in nature's timeline, turned into a timeless object of beauty. The process itself requires remarkable skill and patience. The artist starts by carefully selecting a branch, not just for its shape, but for its integrity. It must be strong enough to hold its form, yet soft enough to carve. Once selected, the branch is often dried and prepared, sometimes for months, to ensure it won't crack or warp during carving. Then the real work begins. Tools like chisels, knives, gouges, and even sandpaper are used with meticulous care. Some artists work by hand alone, refusing to use power tools, keeping the process as natural as the material. In some cases, the artist leaves parts of the branch untouched, allowing raw, uncarved wood to sit beside the polished figure or form. This contrast between the natural and the carved highlights the transformation. It says, "This is what it was, and this is what it became." It honors the branch's origin while celebrating its rebirth. Some sculptures are purely figurative, carving small animals, human faces, or hands out of the wood. A curve in the branch might become a bird's wing. A thicker part may turn into the chest of a seated figure. The challenge is immense. The artist must see the final form within the irregular shape of the branch, almost like finding a sculpture already hidden inside. Others lean toward abstraction. They might carve flowing forms, spirals, or interlocking loops, emphasizing motion and balance over realism. These pieces explore the emotional and symbolic connection between wood and shape, between chaos and control. The finishing process is equally important. Once the carving is complete, the surface may be smoothed and polished, or intentionally left rough in areas to preserve texture. Some artists apply oils or waxes to enhance the grain and deepen the wood's natural color. Others burn or stain parts of the sculpture to create visual contrast. Every choice affects how the sculpture catches the eye and how it feels to the touch. Because of their size and charm, sculptures carved from single branches are ideal for display in intimate spaces, on shelves, desks, or windowsills. They add warmth and natural beauty. They invite contemplation. A single branch, once part of a living tree, now sits transformed, its story preserved and shared. In a world filled with mass-produced goods and digital distractions, these small wooden sculptures offer something real, something grounded. They remind us of nature's quiet power and the human capacity to shape it with respect and care. Some artists choose to incorporate spiritual or symbolic meanings into their work. A sculpture of a bird emerging from a branch might symbolize freedom or rebirth. A human hand reaching from the wood could represent growth, connection, or memory. These layers of meaning make the sculptures not just beautiful, but profound. They become objects that stir thought and emotion, not just admiration. Sustainability is another strength of this art form. Using fallen branches means no trees are harmed in the process. Many artists make a point of gathering only what nature has already let go, after storms, during seasonal pruning, or from forest floors. In this way, each sculpture becomes a celebration of life's natural cycle. What once grew, fell, and was forgotten is now honored and preserved through artistry. In some cultures, carving from a single branch has deep roots. In Japanese Netsuke art, small figures were often carved from ivory or wood, sometimes from branches. In Nordic traditions, mythological symbols were carved from tree limbs and passed down as talismans. Today's artists continue this legacy, blending traditional techniques with contemporary creativity. Their work bridges past and present, nature and culture. Whether displayed in a rustic cabin or a modern apartment, these sculptures bring a touch of wilderness indoors. They soften spaces, spark conversation, and remind us that even the smallest, most overlooked piece of nature can hold immense beauty. A crooked stick becomes a dancer. A broken branch becomes a bird in flight. A simple piece of wood, once forgotten, becomes unforgettable.
The kitchen.
So next time you see a branch on the ground, don't just step over it or toss it aside. Stop for a moment. Look closer. That piece of wood, weathered and twisted, may not seem like much at first glance, but within its curves, its texture, its grain, there could be an entire story waiting to unfold. What might be hidden inside? What shape is just beneath the surface, waiting patiently to be revealed? What spirit lingers in the knots, the cracks, the rough bark, whispering to someone willing to listen? To the trained hand and open heart, even the most ordinary branch holds extraordinary potential. It's not just a discarded piece of nature. It's a canvas, a challenge, a gift. Carving a single branch isn't simply about technique. It's about perception. It's about seeing more than others do. It's about sensing the form within the formless and gently coaxing that form into the light. The carver doesn't rush. They don't force the wood to become something it was never meant to be. Instead, they work with it, honoring its twists and turns, adapting to its limits, embracing its imperfections. Every chip carved away, every surface smoothed, every detail added is a step in a quiet dialogue between artist and material. And that process, slow and intentional, becomes a kind of meditation, a tribute to patience, imagination, and respect for nature's raw gifts. Through this transformation, a simple branch becomes something entirely new. It might become a figure, a creature, a symbol, or even something abstract. A piece that evokes emotion without needing explanation. And yet, beneath every carving is still the essence of the tree it once was. The years it stood in wind and sun, the seasons it endured, the birds it sheltered, the ground it shaded. All of that history is still there, preserved and elevated in the final piece. In many ways, This act of carving a branch is symbolic of life itself. It's a reminder that even what seems broken, forgotten, or insignificant can be shaped into something beautiful and meaningful. That within the roughest surfaces lie smooth truths. That transformation doesn't come from perfection, but from perspective, from looking beyond flaws and seeing possibility. So the next time you come across a fallen branch, take that second look. Ask yourself, what lies within? What can this simple piece of wood become in the hands of someone who believes in potential? Because when you see the world through the eyes of a woodcarver, you realize that beauty is everywhere, not in polished surfaces or perfect lines, but in the quiet promise of what could be. And maybe, just maybe, that little branch, forgotten by the world, is ready to tell a story. All it needs is someone who's ready to listen, someone willing to carve not just with their tools, but with their heart. That's when transformation happens. That's when the ordinary becomes unforgettable.